Welcome everybody to the SNN.Network Australia virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter. On behalf of Elixinol Global, it's a publicly traded company, I got two symbols for you, EXL on the ASX and ELLXF in the US. I'd like to introduce Oliver Horn, the Executive Director and Global CEO of Elixinol. With that, Oliver, take it away.
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me, and really appreciate you giving us the time, and hello to everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Look, I'm here to present to you Elixinol and a rejuvenation story, really, of our business that is so well positioned in a global health category of CBD. My name is Oliver Horn. As Robert said, I'm the global CEO, and I joined this business about 6-7 months ago in April this year. I'm just going to go to give you an overview on some of the tremendous results that we've been seeing as we're rejuvenating our business, and I will talk you through our strategy and our proposition to you as an investor and shareholder on our flourishing business that we are building in the consumer health category. Now, our vision is very clearly to build a global consumer-led and an Elixinol branded CBD nutraceuticals business. Now, we are a very established player, and we've been in the CBD space for over 20 years now, and we've certainly seen our fair share of consolidation and headwinds, particularly in the US, in 2019. And we've really made a concerted effort over the last 9 months and year to simplify our business along this vision of becoming a consumer-led Elixinol branded nutraceutical business with its foundation and really built on our knowledge in CBD. Our mission is to make a positive contribution to people's health, wellness, and the planet through the power of hemp products. Hemp product and the hemp plant truly is one of those super plants that is incredibly sustainable and has so many versatile uses, and we are here to help the environment, making the best possible environmental choices as we go about our business. Now, in the current global CBD space and hemp space, we are not a newcomer. We have been in the CBD space and hemp business for over 20 years, and we are truly a global champion through our founder, Paul Benhaim, who is a global father of the industry. We've assembled and assimilated an incredible amount of global knowledge. But being a publicly listed company listed on the Australian Stock Exchange and in the US, we take our compliance obligations extremely seriously, and what consumers around the world can rely on us is that we produce quality products with the highest degree of transparency, which is very, very different to a lot of the newcomers who are entering that field around the world, trying to take shortcuts to make a quick buck. We are not that kind of business. We're here for the future, and our repeat purchase rate is certainly confirming that with consumers. As we're rejuvenating our business, we're really focusing on 4 key must-win battles and how we call them. One is we truly want to build a global consumer brand with a strong global presence. And what I will show you later is that we have a very strong foothold in Americas, in Europe, in Asia, as well as in Australia and New Zealand, which is truly unique, having that global footprint. Secondly, and particularly given our COVID environment at the moment, we need to be winning in e-commerce and pharmacy, which are essential channels for us. So what you will see throughout is that we heavily invested ourselves to build our capability in the digital space and gain new pharmacy distribution to service consumers around the world. Thirdly, our must-win battle is to create a very profitable CPG model. At the moment, we're still burning cash, although at a rapidly reducing rate, and we are really firmly on the trajectory to become a profitable business, but we want to be a profitable consumer packaged goods business. That comes with consumer knowledge, disciplines, insights, innovation, and mature systems like our Dynamics system that we incorporated just over the course of the last 12 to 18 months. Innovation for us is an absolute must-win. It is our lifeblood for the organization, and we believe that sustainable growth only comes through innovation, and margin accretion comes with that as a consequence. And what I will demonstrate to you is that we've been innovating, particularly in the last 6 months, to create a very different business, which I like to call Elixinol 2.0. Now, this rejuvenation really, is all enabled through the people. And we've made an incredible transition, over the last year on instilling new leadership at all levels of our organization. On the left-hand side, you see our new chair, Helen Wiesman, who joined us as a chair in September. She has been with the board since April already, but she's really a seasoned public company professional and has been serving on international company boards for the last decade. She's also been a former KPMG audit partner, and has extensive experience in food, pharmaceutical, natural healthcare, and professional services. So she is really chairing our board and helping us making that transition from an owner-founder business to now a global public company in the consumer goods space. I myself joined in April, and my history is really premium global brand building. I started off at Deutsche Bank, got a good finance grounding, then over to L'Oreal, where I went into health and beauty, into marketing, and then later on 13 years at Treasury Wine Estates, the biggest global premium wine company, international postings throughout that time. And then lastly and importantly, in the nutraceutical space with Swiss Wellness, which is one of the leading global nutraceutical businesses, where I run the Americas as well as Europe, parts of Europe, and the Australian business. So I bring my deep nutraceutical business to really enable that journey and that vision to become a global nutraceutical CBD player. On the right-hand side, our new CEO, Tom Siciliano, he's been joining us in March, since March, really helping us on the turnaround, particularly given that the U.S. is a battleground for us. He's a seasoned professional out of the cannabis industry in Fortune 500 and has various times already turned businesses around to creating great cultures, and being a very astute operator. And those three pictures, of course, are an introduction to key leadership team members, but more importantly, it's symbolic for the change that we are seeing in all levels of the organization. Now, as a result of our efforts, we reported in the September quarter a fantastic and healthy growth of 18% quarter on quarter. And importantly, this growth has been delivered across all of our business units. So that is Europe, the Americas business, and our hemp foods in Australia business. All business units growing in the quarter. More importantly, though, for us is that we've not only growing this business, but we're growing it sustainably. We've launched new product ranges, entered the skincare category with a comprehensive skincare range, and really achieved significant new distribution, particularly in the UK, in key chains, national chains. Just to name one, Well Pharmacy, third biggest pharmacy chain. We're in over 500 stores with 6, it's actually not correct, 8 products, it should say there on the slides. Now, all of this has been achieved on the back of significantly reducing our net cash that we used in operation. Whereas in the first quarter of this year, we were still using 9 million, we reduced it in the second to 6 and now to 3.5. So what you really can see here is a fantastic turnaround story, where we're rejuvenating this business, returning it to growth on a severely reduced cost base, and having growth catalysts in place. Now, I'd like to now go, to give you a quick overview of our strategy and our focus areas so that you get a flavor for how we manage the business going forward. I think it is very important to understand that the market outlook for CBD is very, very exciting and predicts high growth. The latest numbers that we've seen predict a U.S. CBD market growth of plus 26% CAGR till 2025, and the European CBD market growth for plus 46%. So it's a truly staggering outlook, and the consumer adoption is still at the very, very early stages of the bell curve. So we believe that this category surely has a lot of runway, and those growth predictions are fairly accurate. Now, the question always that we get asked is, well, how do you navigate this very dynamic and fragmented regulatory framework? And I believe that we are well positioned, to respond to the current regulatory framework in all geographies that we're actually working. In the US, As most of you probably know, it's a highly competitive and somewhat under-regulated environment at the moment. So you can see a plethora on CBD players in most channels, whether it's your convenience stores, your pharmacies, your wellness channels, everywhere. So it's a really saturated market at the moment. And that's a consequence of those gold rush moment where hemp was, or CBD was legalized to some degree. Everybody rushed into 2018, 19, make big investments, but the market didn't materialize and the competitors did, however. And so we are navigating that. As you see, we've taken costs out, returning back to growth. And now what we're really excited about is after the recent presidential election, we know that the Biden administration is taking a much more liberal stance and moving towards further legalization, of the industry, and that should give us a dramatic economic boost for over the next couple of years. So we've seen 5 states in the U.S. going to the polls, taking a step towards legalization and decriminalization of medicinal cannabis and cannabis products, which is great news, and we believe this will be a domino effect, that will resonate across more states. The states are likely to be passed within the next 12 to 18 months, and we believe that the FDA will regulate in favor of CBD becoming a dietary supplement. All of those things are really, really exciting for us, and I think we've seen that in the recent share rallies over the last 5 or 6 trading days since the election. In Europe, a bit of a mixed bag, really. UK, where we have our beachhead, really, we are seeing that the UK is firmly committed to regulating CBD as a food. We are working at the moment to submit our dossier, to have a novel food application in before the end of the year, and that will allow us to legitimize our business in the next year when you need to have that application done by March 21 to keep on trading. The EU is still undecided on how they are regulating the CBD space, whether it's a narcotic or not, it's still to be decided, and we're taking a cautious approach. We're building our distribution, but we're not investing ourselves heavily into that space until that's clear. Lastly, our home market, very exciting, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, which regulates really the vitamin supplements and pharmaceutical space, is descheduling CBD, which means that CBD will be becoming available over the counter within pharmacies, and that's an exciting development. And we're looking for profitable opportunities here. Although a small market, we believe there could be an opportunity for us to participate, but that final ruling from the TGA will not happening until later this month, and we're watching it with great anticipation. So all in all, I think what I want to emphasize is that this category in this market is firmly developing in favor of CBD with high growth projections. Now, as we navigate our future, there's 3 things in this turnaround and Elixinol 2.0 rejuvenation story that we focus on relentlessly every day. First of it is obviously getting our revenues up as quickly as possible, and we've seen our 18% trajectory, but having a really stringent and iron grip on costs and taking our costs out. So we reduced our OPEX to almost 50% of that what it was in 2019. We made some really hard decisions to actually right-sizing our organization. We used to be 130 people, we're now 60 odd people, so we're almost half of the people, and we reduced our cash outflows by 43%, all while we're delivering new revenue. So that is all, heading in the right direction. But importantly for us is that we are building a nutraceutical business that is heading for that 60% plus margin, really, blended margin across all of our business units. And how we're achieving that is simply focusing on the more high margin channels, as our global e-commerce, which is currently only 25% of our global sales, but I certainly want it to be 50%, if not more, of our global sales. So shifting, to those channels which are really high margin channels, really divesting ourselves into historic aspects of the business which are not profitable enough. For example, B2B, product and private label, we're exiting, and taking costs out of our supply chain, which we've done very aggressively. Thirdly, we're building new competencies. We're not starving ourselves to glory here, not at all. We're selectively investing, and we built new capability in the team that delivers for us future growth and new capability, namely in the global e-commerce space, where we hired a completely new team across the world with a global head of e-commerce and fantastic new talent in the US. At the same time, investing more in consumer marketing resources, bringing them in-house, not working as much with agencies, and really internalizing that to be agile and creating great consumer content. So this slide really for us, it's a true north in managing our business, revenue up, improving profitability, and investing for growth. And we certainly believe that we now got the team and the cost structure in place to fuel our future growth as we go ahead. Now the question always gets asked about, okay, well, how do we navigate COVID? Very simply to say, our supply chain and value chain hasn't been impacted by COVID. People are our number one priority. We're working in staggered shifts. We're spraying our offices, and so far we had no operational challenges. But however, retail is severely impacted, as we all know, in the US as well in Europe, and we see that in Q4 there's some headwinds materializing. However, what we do know that wellness and sleep, anxiety, immunity are really hot topics, and that's where our products really play a role, and we continue communicating that message. And so I believe that given the channels that we're operating in, which is more towards e-commerce and pharmacy and in-home shopping, and the products that we have, will probably be one of the industries and players that is better positioned to navigate a very challenging time. Now, what I like to reemphasize is that we are a completely new business. We only relaunched our product range that you see there only 6 months ago, taking it out of the hardcore CBD space into a nutraceutical space with products that have active ingredients that it can make health claims against, and naming conventions that the consumer understands: Daily Balance, Immune Booster, Happy Belly, Body Comfort, Stress Less, Good Night with melatonin. Very easy to navigate and very accessible. This is a huge part of our early success, on which we're gaining fantastic new distribution, particularly in the UK, with the players like Zoll Pharmacy, who is the third biggest chain with over 700 stores. But we're also having a supply agreement with Alliance Healthcare, the biggest wholesale distributor to pharmacies, and we're having wide reach into shopping channels across Europe. On top of that, not only do we have a digestible range or ingestible range, but we're very, very proud that we launched our CBD Skincare range. It's a real first, where we have 8 products, a full comprehensive range that harnesses the efficacy of CBD, and we brought that to market in September with Boots in Ireland, who are our launch partner and our testing ground. 8 products in 74 stores, and Boots Ireland is for us really the testing ground on which we will build the business and expand to more retailers as we move into 2021. And on this slide, you really see how we're bringing this range to market. It's all about education and social media influencers and key opinion leaders. And with great success, they have embraced the quality of our product, which is fantastically packaged and with great formulations and with great mechanisms of action. So we're tremendously proud that those critical influencers are embracing us dearly and promoting the message. Now, we also have this beautiful business, which is called Hemp Foods Australia, about 25% of our global revenues, nearly break even now. And we've seen this business consistently growing on a reduced cost base with optimized margin, as it is firmly on the health trends of healthier plant-based nutrition. Now, hemp foods has the perfect combination of omegas, so fatty acids, 3, 6, and 9, high in protein and plant-derived. So we have hemp seeds, hemp flour, hemp proteins, hemp oils, and even a hemp skincare range under Hemp Foods Australia. A quarter of our revenue growing. It's a real home play in Australia. And if you go onto Google in Australia and type in Hemp Foods Australia, it's number 1, 2, and 3 brand that really comes up in that space. So very, very exciting. Really, if you look at our global footprint, we are one of the very few players that has a truly global footprint. We talked about the Americas. We're about 40 people there now, with a wide reach into all channels. Europe, we're having what I believe is a very strong first mover advantage as a global broad spectrum, a full spectrum brand, particularly in the UK. And we're focusing there on with our own supply chain that we've built there locally, including innovation capability. And then we have reached into Asia, which actually our Japan business, where we have a licensing agreement, where we're one of the top 3 brands in Japan, just being relaunched now actually into the market to great success. And then we're actively working on further Asia opportunities. And that's a market that I know really, really well from my time at Swiss, where we were owned by a Chinese entity. and certainly I've dealt a lot in the Chinese environment and done business there. Now, to sum it all up, and before we go to question and answers, I just want to leave all of the listeners and all of the audience with a few simple takeaways, and that is the Elixinol of today is a very different Elixinol than it was in 2019. We are tremendously well positioned in a global high growth CBD category that is on consumer trend with a trusted and established brand that prides itself in efficacy and transparency, with a very fresh new look and approach to taking CBD to market that is navigating the nutraceutical space. On top of that, we're delivering an 18% growth in the last quarter on very sound and robust fundamentals with an optimized business, very much reduced costs, but still invested in new critical team capability, and have a very strong balance sheet of 12.5 or 12.8 million in cash, virtually debt-free as of September, and importantly, sufficient inventory to drive further growth and minimize our cash utilization. So all in all, we believe this is a very exciting time for us in Elixinol. Yes, there's going to be COVID headwinds, and the market is very dynamic around us, but we are really well positioned now after this really hard work that the entire team has done to reset, rejuvenate, and kickstart a new era of growth for the business. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm now taking questions and answers. Right, we've got one question here. It says, how do you foresee COVID playing out in the fourth quarter? Look, very good question. Thank you for that. We've seen particularly the UK, the European markets going into a hard lockdown for 4 to 6 weeks. That's probably coming to an end in November, end of November, beginning of December. It's been impacting our retail business with reduced footfall, and it's hard to get into stock and do store checks and put merchandising forward, so it limits our ability to execute in that environment. But as I mentioned before, while this is a downside to some extent, we are still very well positioned to navigate that, simply because we've got a home TV shopping channel in Europe, we got our e-commerce working, and we are in pharmacy, which is an essential service which remains open, even though albeit with reduced traffic. So that's sort of, I believe we are in the best possible position to navigate this environment, although it's not a smooth sailing as we anticipated. There's another one here. So this question is, tell us more about Hemp Australia. I heard it was up for sale. Yes, that's correct. Hemp Australia, quarter of our revenue and nearing break even, was up for sale to a Chinese buyer. It didn't go through because of COVID. The buyer couldn't complete, which frankly I'm very, very happy about, because the consideration was $500,000 for a business that is 25% of our revenue, which I thought is tremendously undervalued, and that deal was struck a while ago before I arrived. So I'm very happy that it didn't go through. I believe Hemp Australia is right on trend. It's plant-based food and nutrition, and we're seeing a great growth coming out of that business, over the last 6 months and 9 months in particular. And so, I'm confident that will be a profitable growth driver for us in the future. Let's have another look. There's another question. What are your plans for China? Yes, very good question. Look, in Swiss Wellness, China was a huge part of our business. And I'm very traveled to China quite a lot and did business there, and I've certainly taken those relationship and contacts with me to a large extent, and we're having active discussions in China on how to access the market. CBD is in bricks and mortar and off-trade, offline retail regulated, and it's illegal, so we can't do that. But there is an opportunity for us playing in cross-border e-commerce. We're developing that very closely. From Australia, which has a huge Chinese community, and I'm feeling, cautiously optimistic, that there is a market opportunity for us in the future. I guess that's it for the questions. I have no more questions here. So thank you all very much. Please reach out to us. Have a look at our investor homepage, elixinolglobal.com. On the investor section, you can contact us there. A lot of our materials obviously are public because we are a publicly listed company, readily accessible, this presentation amongst others, and all of our public announcements. So thank you very much. I'm really excited about Elixinol and where we're heading, and I hope you've heard some of the excitement, and thank you in advance for your consideration and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today. This does conclude the webcast. You may now disconnect.